What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumb ass. Like and subscribe. So, we're gonna do a marathon run, I guess, of some more games from the Xbox Super Duper Showcase of Love. And first on the list, or next on the list, is 33 Immortals. Before I go into 33 Immortals, I want to go back and comment on the South of Midnight whatchamacallit, trailer, in that I had quoted, I think Zocker had said it was a first-person game, and he was incorrect, I believe. He had corrected it yesterday or whatever. So it's supposed to be third person, so boom, that's cool. Anyway, 33 Immortals. So the thing about that game is that it was like, you saw it, and it was like, oh, it's just a top-down, and they did this deliberately, words. It was four player, and then it was like 6. And it's like, wait, what's going on? And then there's more. It's like, wait, what's going on? And then there's a 33 co-op. I was like, what? And I was watching a lot of peers watch it, and she was like, huh? And that was like the big surprise about that game. Even though the animation isn't like a whole bunch of frames per second and stuff, you got a lot of sprites, if you will, on the screen at the same time, and it's really cool. And I was like, you know what? And it's from the developers of that game that I can't remember right now, where you're Spiritfarer. There it is. Getting all the spirits over to ferrying them. Anyway, so that game, that's cool. Thunder Lotus is the dev, and yeah, it looks interesting. So that's like that's a cool little indie game. That was the first indie game that they showed, number 4. So that was cool. Next up was Payday 3. If you like Payday, that's cool. I don't really play it, so next, moving on. Persona 3 Reloaded by Atlas. This was leaked a couple of days before, and I've never played a Persona game, so I have no skin in the game. It's a JRPG, basically. Whatever the hooks are, is it relationship stuff? I don't know. Never really got into it, so I can't really tell. Maybe I'll play it. It's gonna be on Game Pass, so maybe I'll try it out. But this one is, I guess, a remake of sorts, so that's cool. I mean, they're finally getting some more Japanese games up on the Xbox. That's the cool thing, and they're on Game Pass, and that's one of the themes of this whole showcase, was that day one Xbox. And a lot of ponies were like, oh, but we got those games too. They tried to do the same thing Xbox did, where they show a bunch of list of games that are multi-plat. Most of those games are going in Game Pass. You gotta buy them on PlayStation, so you lost. That's a big fat L. It's a super L. It was a double down L. You went in there and like, oh, look, I'm gonna be clever like they did. You notice Sony didn't put that up because they knew that the better deal, the better way to play is through Game Pass instead of buying all those games. So dumb. Anyway, next up was Avowed. Now, I watched it a couple of times. I still have to watch the Super Duper 4K version, but I've watched it a couple of times. And we'll see, because it's still a year out, or it's sometime next year. So we'll see what it actually shapes up to being. But I will agree with some people where it doesn't look as good as, let's say, the initial trailer kind of. I think it falls below expectations, slightly below expectations in some instances, based on how the perception of this gen should be. You look at Fable, you look at Forza Motorsport, you look at all these different games that are like, yo, that's next gen, look at Hellblade 2, that's next gen, you know what I'm saying? And then you look at Avowed, you're like, but their games are always really cool. They haven't made a bad game that is Obsidian. So they get the benefit of the doubt. You know, maybe they'll tighten up the graphics on level 3 by the time it comes out. Who knows? But I'm gonna still play it because RPG, let's go. But you know, I'll agree with some people where it's not as good looking as expectations are wanting it to be. So in that respect, sure. Next up was Sea of Thieves, Legend of Monkey Island. I appreciate the fact that they're still going in on Sea of Thieves. However, they're going on 3 years almost. They have at least 25 million players. I think it's maybe 30 million players. This will definitely kick it up a notch again, bump it up. And it seems like it's more story. I mean, the main thing about Sea of Thieves that I didn't like, or I don't like that much, is that I think they should give you some level of buildability or customizability as far as building your own type of ship. Like, say you want a sleuth, right? So you can only there are parameters, and you can build whatever you want to build, but you know, it'll be performance-wise, it'll be affected, and all these things, kind of like nuts and bolts, but nothing too crazy, but you know, customizing it in that way where you can actually build your own ship. That would be cool. If they could implement some way of having a ship builder type of feature in Sea of Thieves, then I might be more inclined to play it. Or even have like your own little single player server. I know that's not the point of the game, but do PvE. Give me a single player server where I could build my own ship and build a little, you know, a little island with a little resort on the island, a little base or whatever on the island, and just have, you know, some E's come around and mess with me or whatever. That would be cool too, you know. I'd be down for that, because a lot of the times when you're playing PvP, I mean, that's the only way you can play that game, but a lot of times you're going to turn in your chest or whatever, but okay, granted, I haven't played it in a long time, so that's how it was. You'd be about to turn it in, and there's a ship there, and you're like, uh-oh, I can't turn in all my treasures because they're there, and they're gonna go and rob you. Sea of Thieves, what do you expect? So, you know, it's all right. Next up, Flight Simulator 2024 with the Doom Dragonfly expansion, or you know, DLC movie. I like this trend that Flight Simulator is doing. First of all, Flight Simulator 2024, it is a brand new game. It's not an expansion. They did so many updates to the game, to the engine, to all the systems, that it was too big. So it's a new game basically. So all those improvements carry on to this new version. And they got freaking rescue helicopters. They got put out the fire helicopter. They got construction helicopter. I was like, yo, this game is turning into craziness. It's looking crazy. I mean, it was always pretty, and now it's just even getting better. They need to do Space Simulator. I think they had done that before, but if they Flight Simulator goes into Space Simulator somehow, and you can build your little rockets and stuff, or maybe if they do like a forge in Flight Simulator where it's just like, you know, it's fantasy, so it's like not real. So you could take little parts of different planes and plop them together and see if it flies. That would be cool. I would be down to do that. I'm always down to build some stuff. So I build a crazy Super Concorde with a prop engine. I don't know. But yeah, that'd be interesting. It's always interesting to have kind of forge type of things or building type of thing. Anyway, Flight Simulator is cool. It's a staple in the video games, and is literally the one and only kind of king of the flight simulators. I think it regained the crown recently though. And we'll end right now on Hellblade 2. So I've seen online where people are like, oh, they didn't show any combat. They just showed walking around, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you mother flowers. Y'all always gonna find something to complain about because it's not on your system, because it's exclusive. That's what your problems is. The thing is that was gameplay, right? That was the game playing. Now you look at the first game and you say, okay, you can tell how, oh yeah, it looks really good, but yeah, that's gameplay. This was like, is that gameplay? And it's like, I totally lost when player control was taken away. I didn't even notice it. I'd have to watch it again and analyze it frame by frame, because when she got out of undercrawling and she got up, and then you see the camera kind of moving a certain way, that was controlled by the player. And then at some point, the camera starts moving a certain way, and I guess that's when the control leaves, but I didn't notice it. And the fact that I didn't notice it, and the fidelity looks like it's like pre-rendered or something. And I'm like, yo, Ninja Theory is killing it. This game looks better than anything that Sony has done on their system. Now you can say, oh, God of War looks great, blah, blah, blah. First of all, God of War doesn't look realistic. You look at Atreus, it's like, yeah, that's not a human, okay? You look at it's different for God of War because it's a fantasy setting. So you have goblins and trolls and stuff, and you're like, yeah, you can make that stuff look good. Just get the lighting right and all that stuff. But it's baked lighting. But anyway, but this is a human being walking into and through a cave with puddles of water and such, reflections, all that. You can't be like fantasize it all up and to make it look good so it looks good. This is a person. This looks like the actor. Really, I'm like, how are these fools making this game look so good? And so I am super anticipating this game. Now, the first game wasn't for everybody because it does deal with mental health, and it isn't all about action and adventure. And that's the thing that people don't understand. When they're showing little bits of this game, they're showing, yes, the game engine looks good, yes, the game is beautiful, yes, it looks realistic, blah, blah, blah. But you have to look at what they're showing you, the context, what's going on. The voices are very important as well. What they're saying, what she's saying in response to what they're saying, and what she's saying in response to her environment. They all are important. And if you're not paying attention, you will miss the story. And many gamers have a short attention span, and they're not gonna get it, and that's why they didn't like it, because it's different levels to this. Shout out to Dark. Dark 189, 895 to 1985, whatever. So I'm listening to all this stuff. I'm looking at all the things that they're doing in this trailer, and I'm like, yo, this is even getting like kind of deeper and better than the first game. The first game was like it was rough. It was disturbing. It was like there's some darkness in that one. It was really darkness. Now this one's a little different in that I'm not even sure if Hellblade takes place in the time that it takes place in, if that makes sense. I think, for me, I have a conspiracy theory. Here's the conspiracy theory. I think that Hellblade is kind of like an alter state, dream state of Project Kara. I think Project Kara is the reality and where Hellblade resides. And Hellblade is one of Kara's realities, if that makes sense. One of her personalities, if you will. She's a Viking warrior. But Kara is the actual person that Hellblade lives inside mentally. That's what I think. I think this is a bigger story. That's why they use the same actress. And so I think Project Kara will be maybe more of a thriller, more of a suspenseful, more of a horror game, maybe. But I think that's also another, personality or another reality for that character. That would be freaking awesome. Will I be disappointed if it's not that? No. But I'm thinking about how Ninja Theory works and how creative people like Ninja Theory, the people at Ninja Theory work. And I think about the first Hellblade and how it was put together. And I'm like, that sounds like something they would do, where they have multiple games that are connected all to another game that they haven't even introduced yet. Like, come on, son. That would be so good. So that's my conspiracy theory. I think Hellblade Senua is a personality of Kara, Project Kara. Now, whether it is a natural state of her being, she was born that way, or project, meaning she is a lab experiment. She is a subject in an experiment, unbeknownst probably to herself. Social experiment, if you will, but more of a scientific experiment. And then that'll be a whole nother layer of it. I'm gonna keep going, let's go. And it's way in the future, but it's kind of set in the near present or something. Look, there's so many different possibilities. That's why I love video games, because the imagination, you open up the imagination box and it's like, all flies out. And if it's done well enough, written well enough, makes sense, and is good, then let's go. Sky's the limit. So I just got myself excited about Project Kara and Hellblade. I really am. I really, really am interested in Project Kara because, like, I mean, the graphics. First of all, I'm like, and they showed the level of detail, and they showed like they showed they showed the environments, and I swear the first time I saw it, I thought it was like a real place. I mean, it is a real place that they modeled everything out, but it was like so good looking. I was like, that's real. And I looked at it again, I was like, oh, that's not real. That's the actual environment. It was crazy. I know I said this before, but it blew my mind when they showed that 2 years ago. Imagine what it looks like now. And the new engine, come on, son, it's ridiculous. Oh my God, I'm so hyped. But anyway, I appreciate y'all hanging out. That's my number. Like, subscribe. Let me know about these, however many games I talked about. I mean, especially Hellblade II, because that's like the biggest one out of all these games. But you know, all these games, we still got a grip left. We got a bunch of games left, but you know, I'm gonna end it up on Starfield. So probably another 2 videos in Starfield. We'll talk about Starfield in depth. But once again, I appreciate y'all. Let me know in the comments about what y'all think about these group of games, Hellblade in particular. And you know, I appreciate y'all hanging out, and I'll check y'all on the next one. Till the wait.